What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Smoke World. I'm your host, Stone. So go grab that stick, go grab a glass or whatever you're drinking. Let's sit back and have a conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at SmokeWorld50. And we also have email. You can follow that and send emails in at smokeworld50@gmail.com. I have the pleasure and the honor of sitting down with my main man, Steve Zengel from Los Caidos Cigars. What's up, Steve? How you feel, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm hanging in there, man. You know, it's a crazy time right now, but, you know, we're hanging in there. So what's going on with you, man?
Hanging with two hands in one hand.
Hey, man, you know how it is out here in these streets. You know how it is.
You're just hanging.
You know how it is out here in the streets, brother. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with me and have a conversation about something we both enjoy, something we both love, the love of the leaf. So you have a very, very interesting story, very interesting background, and I kind of want to get into that in reference to kind of like how you got, first of all, where you from?
Central Jersey, right outside Asbury Park.
Central Jersey, man. Okay, see, I'm a Philly guy, so we know about all that Central Jersey guys. You guys are trouble.
I saw the 267 Stone. I know where you're from.
Yeah, you guys are troublemakers over there in Jersey. We know about that. Troublemakers over there. All right, so you're a Jersey guy, and I did a little bit of research. You know, that's what cops do. You know, being in that business, that's the line of profession I'm in. And I happened to see that you're, I'm not gonna say former educator, but you're an educated guy. You got degrees and you got PhD. You know, you're like the man. Talk to us about that. And how did you even get into the cigar business?
Man, first of all, let me just say this. Getting a doctorate degree is a little overhyped, man. You sit in a room, you study, you write, you're good, right? So anybody can get it. And it's funny because I did my doctorate degree on athletic expenditures because I was a basketball coach, long-time coach. And I was a finance major coming undergrad, so I said, I was with a couple of professors, and they all wanted me to do their own thing. And then I met this one cat, and he's like, listen, you love money, you love sports. Why don't you look at athletic expenditures in high school? And I was like, that's it. Let's do it. So I know more than probably, or as much, I should say, as a handful of people in the country on athletic expenditures in high school sports in the state of New Jersey. Outside of that, I don't know shit. So that's what my doctorate degree was in, and that's what I know. So it's impressive. It took a long time to earn. I'm proud of it. But at the end of the day, if anybody puts forth the time and effort, like anything else in life, Stone, you put forth the time and effort, you earn something at the end of the day with a little shiny ribbon and say, good job. So that's what it is.
Well, you kind of skipped over some stuff, brother, because you was a basketball coach. So, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so, you know what I mean? I'm going to get a little bit, I'm just going to get a little sample because I know your time is limited, but you got a lot of stuff.
Listen, I'm here, dude. So just to let you and your listeners know, I'm in the car going about an hour and 10 minutes away to pick up my kid from a sports practice. I smoke in my car. The windows are shut, so this is my space, man. I'm loving this. So don't feel like we're rushing or don't feel like you're taking my time. You're not. I am honored and humbled to be invited onto your show. Because you have a reputation to uphold. So the people that you invite on have to be reputable, right? Or else your show's going to suck. So the fact that you invited me on to be a guest, I'm very humbled and honored by that. So thank you for this opportunity. And there's no rush. You got me for the next 90 minutes, brother.
Oh, wow. Okay. I appreciate that. But so you guys heard it first. So Steve's driving. That's why he sounds like he sounds. He's driving in some hot, like drop-top Mercedes. And flying down the highway, probably going to get a ticket. So you guys heard it first, and then you wonder why his audio sounds the way it sounds. Yeah. He's chilling in a drop-top Benz. He got a Maybach.
I'm a 212 kid, and if I could drop bombs, I'd be calling MF right now.
No doubt, no doubt. So you did a little basketball coaching. Now, where did you coach basketball at?
I was a long-time high school New Jersey coach. Messed around a little bit with the Jersey Shore League, which is semi-pro. All the NBA players came through here in the summer. And then based on that experience, the last great player I had was a guy named Jason Thompson. he went 12th overall in the 2008 draft. He played at Ryder. And I built up a really good relationship with the local assistant of mom at Kevin Nickelberry. And when he got the head gig at Hampton, he called me up and said he needs a coach. So I ended up coaching at Hampton University.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Boy, I tell you, this is getting better and better. Steve is really the man. Okay, all right. That's what's up, brother. You did a lot of things. You got a lot of stuff going on. And we're going to get a little bit into the background of how did you get into cigars, how long you been smoking, like how did this even come about?
Yeah, so when, I always enjoyed cigars. My first cigar I ever had, I was running a basketball clinic at Zengel High School, my alma mater, here at the Jersey Shore. And I had done a lot of work for a lot of people and never asked for anything in return, so that when I ran this clinic, I called some of those guys up. And one of those guys was the head coach of Princeton, a guy named Pete Carrill. And I said, Coach Carrill, can you come in and do this clinic? He said, sure. You know, a lot of great big names came in, all that other stuff. And at the end of the session, I go up to him with an envelope, and it had about $450, I think $500. I think it was $450 in cash. And he goes, T, you worked for me for 3 summers for peanuts, pizza, and beer. He said, I don't want to take any money. How about you just go find me 5 cigars? Now, this was pre-internet. I didn't know anything about cigars. 5 cigars? Well, no, I'm going to find 5 cigars. So I started asking all the dudes that were in the audience. I just knew nothing. Does anybody know where their cigar shop is? So a bunch of dudes said, yeah, there's one right around the street, Senior Ones, next to Arcade Athletic Letter in the Belmont, blah, blah, blah. They gave me directions. So I went and got them. I got 6 cigars. So I came back and he goes, Stevie, you went to Villanova. I'm coaching at Princeton. I asked for 5 cigars. You gave me 6. And I said, Coach, anybody who wants to get paid in cigars? I'm kind of interested. I never had one. And he goes, you never had a cigar? I said, no. So I got one for me. So then he went to his car and got this stuff, which I now know is like a cutter and a lighter. I didn't know what it was at the time. And on the steps of St. Rose High School, while the clinic is going on, he and I had our first cigar together.
Wow. So you had never had a cigar. And wow, that's interesting. What cigar was it? Do you remember what cigar it was?
You know what? Everybody asked me that, but I was fumbling through that shit. I have no idea.
You say, look, I have
no idea what my first cigar was.
Did you enjoy it?
Shit, of course. It fell around to it, man. Yeah, I loved it. And you know what's funny about cigars? I have no idea what the name of the cigar was, what brand it was, whether it was strong, mild, or not. I don't remember. All I remember was a great experience with Pete Carrill on the steps of St. Rose High School. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
He's a legendary basketball coach, and that, I think, speaks a lot to what cigars are. You may not remember the exact cigar you smoked, but you remember who you were with and what you were doing when you were having it. And I think that's the cool thing about cigars.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's the thing. Get that experience. The experience is the main thing. You remember that. Like I said, you were with some group of guys. Like I said, one of the top coaches. So absolutely. Okay, so you got into the cigar. You smoked a cigar. You never smoked cigars before. And how did we go from not smoking cigars? And how long ago was this? What, a couple years ago? Many years ago? Many moons ago?
So I had probably dabbled in social cigars with the dear friend of mine from Villanova. Every time we got drunk at a college party or something, he would light them up. So I never considered that a real cigar experience. I'm like, people pass them around. And all the shit you don't want to do is what we did back in the 80s in college. Right? Like watch Caddyshack, and that was us. So it was like, my first real cigar experience was with Pete Carrill. But outside of that, I probably smoked casually at college parties here and there to enjoy with a friend or two. Nothing too serious. And one of the guys was my closest friend at the time, Chris Dinkus. We always enjoyed, like, he was always trying to get me, I had to have a couple puffs and be done with it. I'd rather a beer in my teens and 20s college. So that was my introduction to cigars. My first formal cigars with Pete Carrill. That was 1996 in St. Rose. Because, again, I remember the clinic, I remember the time, I remember everything I was doing at that time. And then I always dipped and dabbled into them. And then when I was coaching at Hampton, my wife came home one day and said, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I was just shopping in Peninsula Town Center, and they got a beautiful cigar shop there. That was probably the worst thing she ever could have said to me, because she lost me after that. It was like, any moment I had, like, oh, you're recruiting? No, where are you going? At cigar shop. I'm going to Emerson, So I started going to Emerson. interested in getting cigars and everything else. And then when we didn't make the NCAA tournament and they fired my head coach, they promoted the guy that's there now, Buck Joyner, and Buck asked me to stay on because we had worked together for years as assistants under Nick. And then he just said, listen, Z, you got the kids coming out of, North Jersey, like Philly Chuck Punches. If you want to stay on board, stay on board. And I said, Buck, man, you've been waiting for this opportunity your whole life. I know how it works. You really want to bring the boys in from Charlotte. Go bring them in. I'm good, man. I'll go. So I ended up working at the cigar shop, Emerson Cigars, with Scott Regina, who's a well-known guy in the industry, former Jersey guy. He was born in Freehold, the same town where my kids are born. And we hit it off, and I begged him for a job for, 4 or 5 months. He didn't have any openings, but the day he had an opening, I started working for him, and that was my real introduction to retail.
Wow. Wow, that's a hell of a story there, brother. How long did you stay with him?
I was with him for a few months, and then school ended, and I'd been working with Boo Williams, a prominent AAU basketball guy. So he had, he had an AI zone. He had a bunch of dudes come through there. He's very well known. I did all the Nike Elite Youth basketball league scheduling for him. Worked at the cigar shop. Messed around when the league was over. Got back into school, and then my wife said, "Listen, we have no ties here. Let's get back to Jersey." So when she said that, I went to Scott and I said, "Hey, can I have your blessing to open up a cigar shop in Jersey?" He said, "Dude, that's in Jersey. I'm in Virginia. I don't care what you do. That's great." So then he opened up his books, gave me a lot of financial lessons. I was with him for about 8 or 9 months, and then came back in March 2012 to open up my first cigar shop in Seaside Heights, New Jersey.
Wow. Okay, now, interestingly, it's interesting that you said that you opened up your shop in 2012. And 2012, is that when Hurricane Sandy came?
Yeah, my ass was open for about 8 months before that shit got taken care of real quick.
So you lost everything in Hurricane Sandy. You just opened up a shop a few months ago.
Yep.
Hurricane Sandy comes in and knocks everything for a loop. So what did you...
The town wanted me open on the St. Patrick's. Seaside Heights every year has a famous St. Patty's Day parade. And that year was March 10th, 2012. So I opened up. They said, do whatever you can. I don't care what it is. So my wife and kids actually stayed back in Virginia. Well, I came back up and opened, I'm on my hands and knees, taking the grout out of the tile. Like, it was a beat up place. So it needed my attention sooner than later. So I came ahead of schedule. Kids were still in school, and she didn't want to pull them out before school ended. So I came back here, started the shop. We were open for that St. Patty's Day parade. I made sure of it, kept my promise to the town, and then I opened up with 9 boxes of Cortez cigars. Because Cortez was a cat. He was doing Dominican cigars out of Jersey, and nobody would pick him up. Because they're like, bro, you have your own shop, you're making your own cigars, we're competitors, and you want me to carry your brand? So I was like, dude, you're 40 minutes away. No one's going to, you know what I'm saying? It's no big deal. Yeah, I'll open you. So I opened up my cigar shop, St. Patty's Day Parade weekend, March 10th, 2012, with 9 boxes of Cortez cigars. At the end of the summer, I just put every penny back into the company. We had about 380 tastings by Labor Day weekend, and then, as you know, a month later, Hurricane Sandy came through and washed it all away.
Wow. So what happened after that? So your cigar shops basically washed down the river. And what was your next move? What did you do?
I had to take a year off because you couldn't go anywhere, and I had to come up with a business plan, find new real estate, think about what I was going to do, needed more money. I had no job, so I couldn't get credit cards. So I fell back on my doctorate degree. A guy called and said, listen, man, was that doctorate degree in your shop real? I said, what do you mean, was it real? Yes, it was real.
Well, you thought you photoshopped it?
Yeah, I don't know. I asked him if he thought I got out of a bubblegum machine. He's like, well, dude, you have a doctorate degree in education from Rutgers. You were hanging that shit behind a register of a 900-square-foot cigar shop on the boardwalk in Seaside. Who does that?
Yeah, you can't be mad. That's a legitimate question. I would probably ask the same question. Like, wait a minute. This guy's got this doctorate degree. He's at this little bubblegum shop. Like, what's going on, brother? Talk to me. Like, is this real? Did you just make this? Are you practicing this? Are you selling these degrees?
Black market on doctorate. Yes, I had it cornered. So he called and said, listen, was that thing real? I said, yeah, it was real. He said, well, you ain't selling cigars anymore in Seaside. you probably need money, and I could use your help, because what was happening is it was a school community where everybody had graduated the same school, and everybody knew each other's mama, sister, and all that. So what happened was teachers were leaving the classroom and just telling kids, like, don't make any noise, don't cause any problems, I got to go to my house and meet the plumber. And teachers were just walking out of the damn building, leaving the kids alone so they could go take care of their shit from Sandy. And the superintendent was like, that's fine, we got to fix. We need to bring in an outsider who doesn't know anybody and could work with us. Not a heavy hammer type of guy. Like, I would just sit in the classroom and say, hey, if you got to go see your plumber, I'm cool with it. But let me sit in here and watch the kids for you. That type of stuff, you know? So, and we were an American Red Cross emergency shelter. Like, it was just a fun. I learned every bit of my paycheck, that's for sure. But they had a lot of unique problems. So they brought me in as a high school vice principal. And then once I was making the salary I could then apply for credit cards. And I built up a shop August 25th of 2013, a year later. I opened a new shop about 7 miles north, all on credit card.
Wow. Okay, he's a brave man. You are a brave man, brother. Wow. Okay,
so call it brave. My wife called it stupid.
Hey, that's all good. That's what they do anyway. No matter what we do, you know how that goes. You know how that goes. Okay, so let's get into your cigar here. Like, what pushed you to come up and say, okay, I'm going from a cigar shop owner, now I'm going to actually start creating my own cigar? Like, how did that come about?
So, because I was a high school vice principal, and I still wanted to open up the shop because we had started developing a nice reputation in the area, and people knew us, and we were gone. A lot of people wanted to see us come back. I wanted to see us come back. So we came back, and then I couldn't manage it full time because of my vice principal job. So there had been a guy, Frank Lancelotti, was a retired Wall Township cop, and he was always coming to buy cigars, and he was retired. So I said, hey, Frank, you like the place. If you don't mind, do you want to manage it while I'm doing the vice principal thing? And he said, yeah, I'd love to. So I said, awesome. So he started doing that, and around that same time, 211 to 213, there were two officers that were brutally murdered. Christopher Madeline in Lakewood and Mark Castellano, a state trooper, died on 195 in Howell, got hit by a car on a bullshit suspect case. So we then became, because of Frank's connections in the law enforcement community, we became the shop to go out to the picnics, casino nights, golf outings, trying to raise money for the family members of these guys and other fallen officers in the state of New Jersey. But it was all through Beach House Cigars. And I was just basically putting my own label on the Ashton Premium House Selection because they were so affordable, and I thought they were really good, right? So I called Chip Golding up, the president of Ashton at the time, and I asked him permission to do that. We had a very good relationship. And he said, absolutely, you can do it. So I did that. We raised quite a bit of money. And then somebody, the guys from Jersey Mike's, kids I used to coach, close friends now, you know, I'm going out to these golf outings and I'm selling a couple $100 worth of cigars and I'm giving $100 back. They needed $10,000. I'm selling cigars on the backs of fallen officers. It just felt sleazy. So I was complaining about it, and the guy from Jersey Mike said, man, instead of bitching about it, why don't you get a set of balls, shut all this shit down, and get back to cigars like we do through subs? Wow. So about 2 weeks later, I said, you know what, they're right. I submitted my resignation as vice principal and didn't look back.
Well, I'll tell you, he's a brave man, brother. You are a brave man. Now, I'm sitting here because I smoked the cigar. Again, folks, check this cigar out. Again, we're going to murder the name. The Los Caidos. Again, and you have a blue label and you have a red label. And I smoked the blue label, which I understand, obviously, there is no difference in the cigars. It's just the difference in as far as where the proceeds would go. So once you explain that, the blue is for who?
So we give $1 back on every cigar sold to family members of fallen police officers and firefighters. I didn't know what the FDA was doing at the time, so instead of coming up with different cigars, I said they share a service anyway as first responders. I said we're going to keep it the same cigar and just change the band. So $1 on every blue band goes back to family members of fallen police officers. On the red band, family members of fallen firefighters.
Gotcha. Now, how about the blend? Now, what type of blend is this? I want you to tell the audience the blend and maybe the tobacco that you're using. Give them a little insight
Yep.
on that.
Sure. So the tobacco we're using it's all Aganorsa leaf. FAFSA factory produces it. We have a very good relationship. Paul Palmer, the president of the company, I consider my mentor. When it came to blending and everything else, he welcomed me and has shown me the ropes since then. So I couldn't have done this without Eduardo, Max, Paul, the whole team chipping in. I'm just their humble servant. They're still showing me the way. I'm still learning every day. So I gave them the challenge. I was smoking all their stuff anyway. I sold a lot. I had a lot of Cas Fernandez products. Now they're known as Aganorsa Leaf, but at the time they were Cas Fernandez. No one really knew who they were at the time. But they were doing Viaje, they were doing Dion stuff, Illusione. They were making a lot of stuff. And then through a state, when Nick Malone was working with them, they were the second largest purchaser of Aganorsa Leaf, and not a lot of people are aware of that. So these guys, their leaf was going into a lot of great cigars, and I loved it. So I sent them a bunch of cigars, and I said, I'm never going to be as good as Arsenio Ramos in blending, or Cinto or anyone else. I said, here's what I like to smoke, and here's the challenge I have. And the challenge I had at the time was people wanted to remember a loved one that they lost. So, and it was all at the same event, and I didn't want to have a ton of cigars because I didn't know what the FDA was doing. This was right in 2016 in the summer.
Gotcha.
So I didn't know what was going to happen because they were saying you had to have your markets by August 8th, but it could fly in the whole 9 yards. So I was like, shit, I don't know what to do. So I said to them, I need you to bridge the seldom cigar smoker that's just going to come in and want to partake in that ceremony to remember a loved one lost over a cigar with the everyday cigar smoker. So how do you bridge mild to full in one same cigar? Like, that's a challenge.
Absolutely.
So I gave it to them, and they took a while, and then they shipped about 22 sets, 44 cigars in total to the factory in Miami, because I didn't have the time as a vice principal to go to Nicaragua. So they shipped it to the Miami factory. I flew down to Miami, and Paul and I sat and smoked through the sets, and when we hit about the 10th or 11th set, I said, this is it. And I loved it, and that's the cigar you have now.
Like I said, folks, again, I tried this cigar. This is an excellent cigar. A little spice on it, a little spice, definitely. A little spicy than me. Spice is nice. Definitely, I would say, medium cigar. Again, if you're a novice, perfect for you. If you've been smoking for a while like us, it's an excellent cigar. Now, where can they find this cigar, Steve?
So they can buy it, and before I get to buying it, because I do want to be respectful and answer your question, the exact blend and the leaves that make it up and why it was able to bridge the mild to the full is we use a Corojo 99 wrapper filler binder, and in the filler, we added 1 leaf of Corojo 98, give it a little body, and we took 1 leaf of Corojo 99 Laredo and added that in there as well to give it some strength. So that's what brought it from mild to medium body. As far as where you could buy it, we're in some pretty respectful stores. I don't know if we still are, but we have been a bestseller for a while on JR. We're on Cigars International. We're with a lot of very well-respected names you might know, like Emerson's, Neptune's, Smoking, Funk Humidor, Two Guys, huge supporter of ours. So we're out there. If you just Google Los Caidos, it should come up at a store local to you. We're about 140 retailers in the country right now, about 24 states and Washington, D.C.
Okay, great. Now, let me ask you another question with that, based on where we're at for social media. Is there anything you have on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter? Is there anything that folks can come out and follow you, kind of get an idea, maybe if there's any brick and mortar places around their neighborhoods?
Yes. So I do have presence. I suck at Twitter. I'm rarely on that. I'm the only person in the company, so I just don't have the time, and I suck at it, right? So we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, Los Caidos Cigars, and that's really all I can say. I need to get a lot better at managing the retail relationships, because the other thing I do, Stone, is I take charitable motorcycle rides for that nonprofit. And last year we took 17 rides all throughout the country. So I was leaving on a Wednesday, having cigar shop events on Thursday, Friday, taking a ride Saturday, flying home Sunday, shipping out orders Monday, Tuesday from my Ben Salem warehouse, and then getting on the plane again on Wednesday. So I was really bad in being present and there for the retailers who supported me early, and I'm trying to change that this year. I took a lot of time during COVID to see how I could get better with my retail relationships, and I think I'm on the right path to improving those.
Okay, so you're a one-man show? Is that what you're telling me? You got some help?
It's a one-man show right now, brother. It's a one-man show.
Oh man, well you're doing your damn thing, brother. You're a busy man. You're doing some things. Now, real quick, as I'm looking at the cigar, because I got one in my hand here, I'm trying to see the label. I don't know. I'm not sure. These are hands? What are? I mean, okay. Is there any history? Any particular reason why?
Yeah.
Give me. What's the story behind the label?
At first, I'm a one-man show trying to figure it all out, right? So at first, we used two white hands. When I say we, I had one of my former students who's great with technology, Timmy Host, and then another gal who had worked at CI for 16 years in graphic design, Maureen Norman. They helped me get this thing going in the fall of 2018, and as we were designing the new logo, because at the time it was just scripted across the box, Los Caidos. It was you couldn't see it, it was horrible. I made way more mistakes than I care to recall. So they were sitting there and said, listen, what are you trying to do to the start? I said, I don't know, like common service, bring people together, support one another. So we thought two hands shaking would be great. So at the time, it was two white hands. And on the label, it looked, when you're in front of a focus group, so I brought in a bunch of firefighters, police officers, and we put it on up on a big screen. And it looked cool. And then the designer, Timmy, who knew nothing about cigars, said, yeah, that shit sounds cool, but when you put it on a little cigar band, let's take a look at it. And it looked like a pregnant dove.
Oh, damn.
Or like a dead bird. And we're like, what the hell is that?
Called Dead Smokes.
So we didn't know what the hell, I mean, it's horrible. So he's like, well, listen, the easiest thing you can contrast sight with is black. So let's do one white hand and one black hand. I said, that's perfect. That's perfect. So that's what we went with. And now, a lot of people are like, oh, you trying to bring races together? And I said, listen, man, that wasn't the start. But if that's how you want to interpret it, shit, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can happen from people wanting to bring others together.
I'm down with that. We need that in this world, brother. We need that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's become a very personal journey for a lot of people. And it's just like they're interpreting it their own way. They're sitting down, they're smoking it, they're remembering a loved one. All of a sudden, they look at the logo and it becomes about race, and then they start questioning what they could be doing to be better in society. Like, it's just amazing some of the emails I've gotten, and we had absolutely zero intent on any of it. We were just trying to avoid the label from looking like a dead fat bird.
Well, guess what? You have succeeded. And like I said, you succeeded there. And like I said, you got folks who interpret it differently, but it's all in the good. It's all in the good, man. Now, listen, bro, like I said, I know you're on the road. Is there anything else we need to know about this brand and you and what's going to happen with the future? Are you putting out any new cigars or what's the deal?
Yeah, we've been trying to, come out with the cigar to support veterans, but I can't give it, it's hard to give $1 to family members of fallen veterans, right? Because who do you give to? There's so many of them. How much do you give? So what we're going to do is sponsor PTSD sufferers and give them dogs.
Okay.
But when COVID hit and when some other things happened, things just slowed down and we didn't feel it was the right time to launch. When I say we, I mean me and the firefighters and other guys who support me, right? So I get together, I have a cigar with them, we'll bullshit about ideas. So we just felt like, now may not be the right time. So we're waiting for the right time to release that, but that'll be next. And then there's something else I'm thinking about doing, and that'll probably be at the end of either this year or the beginning of next. But the first, most immediate thing is going to be the green line for veterans.
Gotcha. Okay, well, is there anything that, I didn't cover that you want the folks to know before you, go pick your kids up driving that Maybach?
The only thing I want to say to any folks listening is thank you very much for even considering Los Caidos. I want to thank you for your time because, Stone, I could get in a car wreck right now and I'll buy another car. You can burn my house down, I'll build another house. But no one is getting this 35, 40 minutes back from their day. So for them to spend it listening to this, I really thank them for that. And then I would ask you, what do you want me to know about you so we can build a relationship? This has all been one way, brother.
Brother, like I said.
How did you start this show?
You know, it's interesting, sir. I had thought about starting a podcast last year, just on the fact that I meet so many different people at the lounges. They have so many different stories. And I was like, man, how can I get folks to hear what I'm hearing? So I said, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. And that was last year. And this got so busy. But with the pandemic and everything, you know, everyone being home, I said, you know what? This is a great opportunity for me right now to start the podcast. So that's what I did, brother. I put it together. And like I said, it's just amazing to be able to talk to people like yourself and other individuals who love the leaf. We sit back, no matter what walk of life you come from. We sit down. We have a common bond. We can have a good conversation. We can have a nice drink and move forward. And this is what it's all about, man. Smoking a cigar. You know, you meet folks that become like family. You know, become brothers and sisters. So that was my whole thing with kind of starting in that direction. I said, I mean, this story has to be told because I meet so many different folks. And like I said, some of them more exciting than others. But it was one of those kind of ways I said, okay, here's an opportunity for me to get my story and for these folks to be able to tell their story. If I can get these folks on a podcast, this will be great. So this is where we're at today, brother, because I heard about you through one of my buddies. Saw the cigar, smoked the cigar a few times and said, man, this is a good cigar. He said, hey, man, I know this guy. I said, what? Oh, we got to set something up. He said, he's a good friend of mine. We know each other from Jersey. So I said, all right, Jersey man, Philly guy, we got to connect. So we got to connect, brother. We got to connect. Like I said, I'm hoping you can come down. I know you're thinking up in North Jersey, but if anytime you make your way down here, brother, I wish you would call me, reach out so we can sit down, have a smoke, have a drink, shake hands, give each other a hug, regardless of the pandemic. We're going to do it safe, but, you know, life is short. And like I said, you make an amazing product. And like I said, the background based on the fact that I'm in law enforcement, just the idea and the concept that you put together, I take my hat off to you. And like I said, I'm going to let all my brothers and sisters in law enforcement and fire know about this cigar. So the word will be out there on this end, brother. The word will be out there.
I really appreciate that, sir. What can I do to help you?
Brother, you did. You talked to me, you had a conversation, even though you put me on speakerphone with a bootleg sound, but that's all right. I still love you. I still love you. I still love you, brother.
I don't know what to do. I hope you don't mind.
No, that's all good. I appreciate you taking the time, man. I really do. Taking the time out your busy schedule, you know, sit down, have a conversation with the Smoke World podcast crew. But, bro, like I said, only thing you can do, like I said, when you come down this way, come to Philly, you come down to Delaware, Maryland, look me up. You call me, and I'll meet you somewhere so we can sit down, have a smoke, have a great conversation. I'll buy you a drink, brother.
Done. I'm looking forward to that. What do you drink?
Oh, man, I drink a little bit of everything. I'm a brown man, do a little scotch, a little bourbon. I'm all over the place. I don't have anything in particular, so I'm kind of freestyle, what they call freestyle Willie Lump Lump. That's street terms for...
I love it. I like that, man. I like that. Freestyle.
It's called freestyle, brother. You turn down nothing but your collar. You be like, oh, you buying that? Yeah, I'll take one of those. Oh, yeah, you drink that? Of course I drink that. Yeah, I'll take one of those, too.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever he's having, I'll take that.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, indeed. I'll take that, brother.
Thank you so much again, man. This was a humbling honor because I as I told you, Phil, I used to have my own show, right? So I'm just humbled and honored that you would have me as a guest on something you're trying to build. That is no joke. I take that very seriously, and I thank you so much for having me on tonight. It was a true pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Look, you be safe out there on the road. Like I said, don't be a stranger. I'm going to reach out to you and harass you via text like I've been doing to check up on you just to make sure you're good. If there's anything on this end you need from us, you give me a call, brother.
I will. I'll tell you one thing. The most immediate need I may have is that emoji game you got is good, man. That emoji game, I couldn't keep up. I was like, shit, I'm not even going to try. I'm going to sit down right now.
That's what happens when you get old. You got to get the kids to make stuff for you. When you get old, you don't know. Technology is not our friend. All right, brother. Well, look, Steve.
Man, this was so fun. Thank you so much.
All right, my brother. You take care of yourself and be safe, man. I appreciate you being a guest on Smoke World. Take care, brother. All right, take care, man. Talk to you. Well, folks, that's another episode of Smoke World in the books. Again, follow me on Instagram at SmokeWorld50. Send those emails in if you got any questions, concerns. You want to talk about the cigars, the Los Caidos, Steve Zengel. Hit me up at Gmail, SmokeWorld50@gmail.com. And to all my brothers and sisters out there in the law enforcement community, the firefighters, again, this is a hell of a cause that's going to the fallen firefighters and fallen police officers. So go support the cigar. It's hot. I'll check you out on the other side on Smoke World. Peace.